Hello and welcome to the Discriminating Gamer. Say, do you know why monsters don't eat ghosts? They taste like sheet. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to go ahead and take a look at Horrified, American Monsters from Ravensburger. Hello everybody, we'll get back to the review in just a second. I just want to take a moment to ask you to go ahead and check out and subscribe to my other channel, that is Cody Carlson PhD, where we talk about military history and books on history and fun things like that. Please check that out, please subscribe, and now, back to the review. Horrified, American Monsters from Ravensburger is an updated version of the original Horrified, which came out a few years ago. Now, that version featured the classic Universal monsters like Dracula and Frankenstein, the Wolfman, etc., etc. This features uniquely American monsters. Let's take a look. Now, I'm not going to do a complete rules breakdown here. The game is very similar in the basic concepts to the original Horrified. I'll post a link to that video here in my review. So this game, of course, has some differences, some different monsters. I'm going to go ahead and focus on the differences between this game and the original Horrified and tell you what I think. So, Horrified American Monsters features, as I say, 6 new monsters. These monsters are the Banshee of the Badlands, Chupacabra, Mothman, Jersey Devil, Bigfoot, and the Ozark Howler. So these 6 new monsters each have their own victory conditions as you are fighting them, so let's go ahead and explore that a little bit. Now, the Chupacabra wants to eat up all the goats. Goats are brown tokens. The brown tokens are generally animals, pigs, horses, etc., etc. So what you do with Chupacabra is you go ahead and you need to collect any goats that are on the board, take them to the farm. Now, if you take it to the farm for one action, you can take one of your goat tokens and place it on the Chupacabra's playing board. Once you have 6 Chupacabras there, then you can go ahead and move to defeat him. But the Chupacabra, he will always target heroes that have brown tokens. That's who he always goes after because he knows they got the food. But also, too, if you roll his special power, you must remove 1 brown token from the board, put it back in the bag. Finally, the way you defeat the Chupacabra is you must be in the space with him, all the goats must have been saved, and you need to spend a total of 6 in yellow items in order to defeat him. Next, you've got the Banshee of the Badlands. Now, as players are going to go ahead and try to defeat her, she has got this music that she plays. And this music is going to draw the investigators to her. So you've got these violins in your investigator color that are moving toward the Banshee. If they get all the way to the Banshee, you're defeated. So what you need to do is, if you're in the same space as the Banshee, you can spend yellow and brown items, roll a number of dice, and if you get hits, you can go ahead and move your violin back a couple of spaces. Once you get all the investigators are completely, in the safe zone, that is to say, they're not being influenced by her, you can go ahead and go to the same space as the Banshee, and you need to spend 2 yellow tokens there. The strength of those tokens don't matter. If you spend those, you have defeated the Banshee. Now, her power is, if you roll the power symbol with her, she advances all the investigators 1 space closer on her musical whale player board toward her. Now there's Bigfoot. Now Bigfoot, of course, is kind of an unusual character, and he's got those tokens of the image of Bigfoot. You set those aside. Now, when Bigfoot moves, it's kind of weird. He actually rolls his dice before he moves. However, if there are other investigators in that space, he's not going to roll the die. He's going to try to hide. Now, as Bigfoot moves through spaces, he will never actually end his space on the same space with an investigator or a citizen. He will keep moving. Essentially, it's +1 to every space he goes into with one of those people. Now, as he's moving through these spaces, you're leaving footprints, clues that Bigfoot was there. Now, investigators can use the pickup action to pick up these clues, and when they do that, they can immediately flip over one of the kind of puzzle pieces, the photograph pieces of Bigfoot. Now, essentially, you can take the clue, you can go to the high school at the photo lab there, and you can then discard a token, and depending on the number of the token, you have that many chances to slide and to move pieces of that puzzle in order to get it so it completes the photograph. Now, once the puzzle is completely done, any investigator can go to Bigfoot's space and spend 3 green tokens, regardless of strength, to defeat him once and for all. Now, as I mentioned, when Bigfoot rolls the die, when no one else is in his space, if he rolls a hit or a miss, nothing matters. But if he rolls his power, then a couple of things are going to happen. You actually advance one on the tear track, so that's very powerful, but you also turn over one of the revealed tiles on his puzzle piece. Next, you've got the Mothman. Now, Mothman has these 4 trap tokens. You're going to place those on the board in specific locations on the closed side. Now, whenever an investigator moves to a location with a closed trap, they can spend an action to set the trap. Now, in the future, if the Mothman moves through that space, he is trapped. He can move normally next time, but that immediately arrests his movement for that turn. Now, once all 4 traps are armed, if the Mothman is in one of those locations with an armed trap and an investigator moves in, he can go ahead and spend a total of 10 yellow strength points in tokens in order to defeat the Mothman. Now, if you roll the Mothman's power, essentially you need to check and see if the eye of the Mothman is on the board. If it is, you can go ahead and move the Mothman directly to the eye, and he can ignore any traps, and any spaces with investigators or citizens that he moves through take 1 hit point as he moves along his path. Next, you've got the Ozark Howler. Now, he has a number of tracker tokens, and you place, I believe, 3 of the 5 of them on his player board. If you go to the abandoned mine, you can attempt to look at one of those tokens. You have to spend the appropriate tokens in order to look at it, but that begins to reveal his path. Now, once you have found his complete path, if you're in the same location as him, you need to spend 1 of each colored token in the same location with him in order to defeat him. Now, if ever the Ozark Howler rolls his power symbol, essentially the nearest investigator is going to gain a Death Omen token. Now, if you have a Death Omen token, essentially it means whenever the monster rolls a die in your same space to attack you, it's an automatic hit point. If ever you are defeated, all of those Death Omen tokens, they leave, and you don't have to deal with them anymore. Now, for the Jersey Devil, things are going to be a little bit different. You're going to remove all the citizen cards from the deck. You're going to place them near the board and place the citizen standee on them. Now, you're also going to take 7 clue tokens. You're going to place 3 of those clue tokens on the indicated spaces on the Jersey Devil's player board. Now, on your turn, you can go to City Hall, and you can actually play a citizen card. You can only play 1 citizen card per investigator phase. Now, the good news is you won't have to play a monster card at the end of the round because you'll be following all of the events and all of the monster strikes on that citizen card. Now, when you escort a citizen back to their safe place, you not only gain the perp card, which is normal, but you also go ahead and can reveal one of those clue tokens on the Jersey Devil's player map. Now, the Jersey Devil essentially is the 13th child. He is disguised as one of these humans, so you're trying to determine which citizen he is. And so what you're doing is, as you're playing through the citizens, you're kind of eliminating suspects. Now, in order to defeat the Jersey Devil, you have to determine which citizen the Jersey Devil is. You have to be in the starting location of that citizen. Whether the standee's there or not is irrelevant, but you need to be in that location. The Jersey Devil needs to be there with you, and then you need to spend items in excess of 14 points, 14 strength points, in order to beat him. Now, once the Jersey Devil is defeated, you take all of the unplayed citizen cards, shuffle them into the main deck, and then resume as normal. Now, the Jersey Devil's power is, every time he rolls his power, you swap one of his clue tokens with a face-down unused clue tokens. Once this is done, there's no more unused clue tokens, then his power no longer has any effect. So players are moving around and around, they are taking their actions, they are taking the enemy's actions, they're trying to do those things they need to do in order to defeat the specific monsters they're playing against, and they are also, of course, weathering the storm as those monsters advance on them and try to take them down, try to defeat them, and advance that evil terror track. So if the players get all the way through the monster deck and they haven't won, they are defeated. If the terror track advances all the way to the Death's Head, then they have not won, they've been defeated. But if you and your friends can defeat all of the monsters before those conditions are met, then you win! Horrified American Monsters. Okay, so Horrified American Monsters. Let me just back up and tell you, I'm a huge fan of the original Horrified. It is a simple game. It's an easy game to play, and yet it's got a lot of fun to it. Horrified is almost kind of my go-to gateway game. When I'm trying to introduce people into playing a real fun, simple game, that still is has a little punch to it. I play Horrified with them because Horrified is, I just think, a great gateway game. But it's also a game I like to play with experienced gamers because it's fun and it's tense and you got to negotiate and it's tough. I was very excited when American Monsters came out. I was really looking forward to it. And my good friend Zach Zumbrunnan actually bought me this game for my birthday. And I was really excited because I hadn't had a chance to pick it up. And so I was really super excited to finally sit down and play this game. The monsters here are cool. Some of them are very tough. The Jersey Devil is very tough. Bigfoot's fun, but he's tough. I really like the sliding stuff with Bigfoot. That is really a lot of fun because it kind of reminds me of the puzzles in Mansions of Madness. And it's the same kind of idea. You got so many points that let you manipulate that. And that's a lot of fun. I really like that. Chupacabra is good, but it's easier. It's a lighter one. And the Banshee's good, but Banshee's lighter too. In fact, first game I played, I recommend you play the Banshee and Chupacabra, and I beat both of them. Kim and I played it, and we, like I say, it was a fairly easy game. It was still fun, but it was fairly easy. But some of these other guys just get more difficult. They do. They get fairly difficult here. Now, one criticism I do have of the game, the bag with this game I don't care much for. I really like the bag in the original game. It felt better. It was a nicer bag. And this bag just, I don't know, it kind of feels a little cheap. I'm not a huge fan of the bag in this game. But really, that's the only drawback. I think this is just another stellar entry into the series, and I hope we see more of them. I really liked American Monsters. For all the reasons that I loved the original Horrified, they're all present here, but they're again, it's a little heightened, it's a little different. Maybe I do like the iconic monsters of the Universal monsters in the first game. I really like that, and I think it's so much fun to play with Frankenstein and Dracula, Visible Man, etc., etc. I really like that. But while the monsters here, maybe some of them are less iconic, they found some really clever ways to make them fun and relevant and interesting here. This one's a no-brainer. Buy it. I think even if you have the first one, this one's worth picking up because of the different challenges it gives you. If you don't have either of them, then I guess it's really a matter of taste, which monsters maybe appeal to you more. And you can pick that up. But honestly, ultimately, I think at the end of the day, if you can, you're going to want to pick them both up because they're both fantastic games. Recommendation for the discriminating gamer for Horrified American Monsters is buy it. Thank you once again for joining us today on The Discriminating Gamer. As always, we ask you to please leave a comment for us on YouTube, on Board Game Geek, on our Facebook page, or on thediscriminatinggamer.com. We'd ask you to please like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter. I'd ask you, ladies and gentlemen, to check out my other channel, that is Cody Carlson, PhD, where we talk about military history and books on history and fun things like that. Please check it out, please subscribe, and please leave a thumb for this video on Board Game Geek. You know, ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you a question. Why didn't Dr. Frankenstein build a second monster? He just didn't have the guts to do it again. Please somebody help me on my feet again, and I don't know where I'm going, and I don't know where I've been. Please somebody help me on the solid ground. It's a long time, and I'll be dying. Once a year I wind up in the band. God knows that I love the...
Oh, hello. I didn't see you there. Just kidding, I did. I'm filming myself, so I know that I can see you do that. You know what I'm talking about. Oh, boy.